Is it now more about, is it less about building the bikes and more about the parts? Or is it still about the bikes for you?
RevelatorAlf.
Would you say?
Well,
or for your company, forget about you as an individual, but more about you, your company. I mean, what pays the bill? What pays the bills? Is it the parts or is it the bikes?
It's I would have to say it's the parts that pay the bills because they are not very labor intensive. If you see what I'm saying, they got to be shipped. They've got to be, I subcontract the manufacture of a lot of it, so it doesn't take up a lot of my hands-on time, whereas the bike building does. So it is kind of the bread and butter. If you break it down the middle, you know what I mean. It's hard to say whether more of the annual income comes from selling bikes and kits or selling, foot pegs and internal throttles. Our biggest selling part is our internal throttle. We sell hundreds and hundreds of those every year. So it's always been a pretty decent balance of the two. You know what I mean? The bikes is obviously the passion. I wouldn't want to get up every day and assemble internal throttles all day, every day till I die.
Sure.
But the fact that I get to build the bikes and get excited about them over and over again is really important. It really keeps you going, if you like.
Sure.
So it's a fine balance. I don't think I could afford to survive just building 2 or 3 bikes a year because I'm not the fastest guy in the world. But at the same time, I'd go probably be bored stiff and be looking for a real job if all I was doing was sticking parts in boxes all day, or like I say, putting bits together. So it's a good balance, and it's been fab that one sort of requires the other. So been able to take that whole I should be a bloke whittling bikes on the weekend for fun into I'm a bloke who actually gets to whittle bikes 5 days a week for a job.
This is what you told me off air. No, you didn't really, but we're going to pretend that you did. You said, Alf, I'm going to send you a fat bloke kit to the UK for free. And I'm going to build it, with my adjustable spanner, and I'm just going to build it, right? So here's my question to you. How easy? And I've built a couple of bikes, but I'm nowhere, I've wrenched, as the Americans like to say. I know. I know what I'm doing, really. But look, how easy is it to put these bikes together? Your kits. So if I say to you, I want a fat bloke, send it over, Russ. Yeah, is it easy to put together?
It actually is really easy. I mean, it's probably the easiest way you're ever going to find to build a custom bike, because each kit is dictated by exactly what the customer wants it to be. So you can say, hey, I can weld, I want to mount my fender, I want to weld the bracket on for the kickstand, I want to do all that, I want to make my own nuts and bolts. So you can get it any which way you want. But the vast majority of the customers, they want me to do all the fabrication. So all the bracketry is done on the frame. The fender's been mounted. The tank's been mounted. I mean, it doesn't come mounted, but it has been mounted and fitted. It's basically a project that is ready to go to the paint shop. Yeah. And then we package it, or I package it, whatever, with exactly the fasteners required. Each part comes with the fasteners to attach that part to the bike. Packaged with that part. So it's very hard to go wrong, short of, spreading it out on the grass floor and getting a big wooden spoon and mixing it all up and then having to figure it out. If you are somewhat methodical and you're capable of spinning a wrench, as we Americans like to say, then it's pretty damn straightforward to put it together. The wiring is the one part that has, people scratching their heads, and that's understandable. But our frames, our bikes are really clean because a lot of the wiring and what have you, we keep very well hidden. Our frames come with tunnels through the backbone and the center post. So we can't send you the bike pre-wired because you're going to have to paint it first. So that's probably the hardest thing to figure out. And, a lot of these blokes will get their mate who builds cars over on a Saturday to help them get through the wiring phase of it. But bolting them together, easy peasy. I mean, back in the day, we would show up at a bike show, 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and with a bike kit on a pallet, dump it on the stage, and by 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, we'd have it hot wired and revving it up on the stage, you know, whatever that is, you know, 2 days of standing at a bike show, bolt it together, get it running.
Right, there you go. So that's it. Send it over then. Send it over, and I'll do it. And I'll do it.
Well, I'll need to wait until that appearance fee that we talked about off air. Here.
Oh, yeah. Hold on, wait a minute. I've got it here. I've got it right here. All right, listen. Let me just expand on that a little bit now. So let's say I appreciate it. It depends on which market you'll be sending this kit out to. But let's say you send it out to the UK, right? So I'll go to you, Russ, and say, Mr. Mitchell, please send me a Fat Bloke kit, right? So you send it all over, and I've fit in my garage, but then I have to register it and all that kind of stuff. But how do I then make it legal to ride it on UK roads? Because speedometers, indicators, all that kind of stuff.
Well, more and more these days, people are ordering our bikes with speedometers and indicators, and we can do them mighty stealthily, and still well within the Exile remit of, you know, minimalism, if you like. But I have to say, the whole registration process is the responsibility whoever's buying it. You need to know what it takes in your country. I mean, as far as England's concerned, we've sent a few over to England/Europe, and there are companies out there that assist in the registration process and the legalization process. Now, the other thing that I find myself having a conversation with regularly with the customers, the difference between legal and registered are two different things. You know, I mean, you can have an MOT and a taxis. That does not mean that your Harley with its bloody loud Vance and Hind pipes is legal in every, you know, every, little nuance of the law. But people aren't coming to me to buy a bike that has DOT approved, airbags on it. They're coming to buy a bike that they can squeak through the registration process and, ride around on the weekends and take to their local bike haunt or what have you. So it is each to his own, which brings me very neatly to the other aspect of our business that we talked about very briefly before, is the Harley customization thing. In a situation where you're in a country or a location or what have you, or you're nervous about the legalization or the registration of a complete ground up build, we do offer now a broad range of parts that will allow you to take typically and ideally a twin cam Softail, particularly and ideally I like from like 07 when the 6-speed trannies came in, because we all love 6-speed trannies, to about 11 when the CAN bus electrics came in, because we all ate CAN bus electrics. And that is a great starting point for a bike. I got one over here. Maybe I can carry this laptop over and show it you in a minute. Let's see if we can walk and talk and see chew gum at the same time. But
it's just like Annika Rice, everybody watching this.
Travis, this is easier than I thought. Look. Anyway, so you can take a twin cam Softail, and in this particular instance, an 07. I can't see me and the bike at the same time. Let's get further away.
Look at that. Absolute beauty.
How do I get that in? Tell me when I've got it in the window.
Yeah, you got it in there. That's in there. Yeah.
Are you seeing it good?
Yeah.
So that is one of my bikes. That is an 07 Softail standard with basically our catalog of twin cam parts thrown at it. And that is a complete bolt-on. There's no fabrication on it. We didn't even strip that one down to the frame. All we did was cut the fender struts off the back, because in the 07 model, those fender rails on the frame are not unboltable. But in 08, they actually bolt off. Yeah. That is a complete bolt-on project. I send you, 10 boxes of parts with your mailman, you know what I mean? And you take your 07 Softail standard or your 08 Night Train or whatever you want. Softail standard and Night Trains are our favorites because they're very devoid of chrome to start with. and you bolt on your bits and pieces and you turn it into that or something along those lines. And there's a bunch of those on our website under the ex-Harley page of bikes that basically started life as Harley. So that bike has a Harley title. The DMV and your policeman, they have no idea what's been done with it because you've never had to tell them. You know what I mean? You basically, you've taken your Harley and you bolted a few bits on, mate, and that's it. So you get to ride something like that, which looks, what to me, 100%. I love that bike. That bike is a really nice. If you could only own one bike, that is a really good example because it's got all the modern niceties. You turn it on, it tells me what the time is right in the middle of the speedo. It's fuel injected. It's does everything that the stock Harley does, but it does it whilst looking tough as nails and gathers the crowd everywhere you park it. So it's a great compromise. And unfortunately, as time marches on, it does become harder and harder to register ground up builds around the world. I mean, we're a it's hilarious to say, but we're a global company. What I mean? We're just as likely to be sending a bike or a bike kit to a bloke in Australia as we are to a bloke down the road in California. In fact, Californians are well known for their poor taste, and therefore we are most unlikely to be sending a bike to the bloke down the road in California. You know what I mean? They all scratch their heads when I show up at the rock store on a Sunday.
Would you, with this aspect of your business, is that, would you say, was that a really popular, was that a big part of your business now, with bolt-on parts for Harleys? Or would you still, it's kind of like a third, it's not really, it's more so than any other part?
Yeah, it's definitely not taken over. It's, maybe on a par with the bike builds. I would, if I don't build enough of them to really get my head around what the project, but we might do a couple of ground up builds, one Harley transformation in house, and then same thing, bike kit, some bloke with a Harley who's just ordered 15 grand's worth of bits out of our catalog to make that happen to his bike. So it's a strong piece, but not an overriding piece necessarily. What I am finding is it does seem that, we've had a fairly strong economy. Blokes like you and me, believe it or not, are getting up there a bit. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, I'm pushing 60, so you must be more,
Yeah, you're only about 22. I'm looking at you.
Up here, mate. Up here. Still 17 in here, mate. But I do find that there are guys that are whatever in their 50s or what have you, are kind of sort of saying to themselves, the environment's changing, the world's changing. I'm getting up there. I need to get out and bloody have a chopper or a ground up build or a rigid while I still can. While I can still ride it, while the government will still allow me to have it, while Russell's still breathing, while whatever. And God bless him. I'm building a bike for a guy in Holland right now. He knows it's going to be a bitch to register that thing.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Russell, look, I'll deal with it. And if I can't, I don't care. I'll have a bike in my living room that I want to look at all day. And if I ride it illegally once a month, then screw them. That's what I'm going to do. I want it anyway. And I'm like, you are the man. You are the man. Yeah. So I thought that was fantastic. And, obviously we get other people who'll do a year of hard labor trying to figure out whether they can or can't register it and, getting all the right contacts and what have you. But, where there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean? In most cases. And if there isn't, then you modify your Harley.
Yeah, absolutely.